Business news, and we start in Geneva, where the Africa CEO Forum is underway. Hundreds of CEOs from the continent, as well as government leaders, decision makers and investors, have been meeting to discuss the future of Africa's trade and how to change the narrative of Africa rising to Africa realism. Also in attendance is Senegalese President Macky Sall and his Ghanaian counterpart Nana Akufo-Addo. Well, CGTN's Uche Okowonkwo has been following developments in Geneva for us and joins us live from there right now. Uche, just give us the latest and what we should expect from day 2 of the Africa CEO Forum.
That's right, Lindy. The discussion here has been about moving from Africa rising to Africa realism. And as we mentioned yesterday, the focus has been on rethinking Africa's business models and certainly reinventing its economic models going forward. Now, this morning, the discussion was around what can be done to help Africa's companies become more competitive on the global front. And of course, they discussed political will. Are African governments willing to push its private sector forward? They discussed the limits that credit ratings pose to African companies that want to become competitive. And they certainly discussed the need to open up borders so that business can thrive on a regional level. Now, as you mentioned earlier, quite an interesting day. We have Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo and Senegal's Macky Sall coming to join in on the discussion. And they'll be discussing strategies to growth going forward, certainly the current economic context on the continent and other issues such as our economic context and the role of the private sector, and certainly how good governance is going to help the sector thrive going forward. Now, I actually caught up with the African Development Bank's Vice President for Private Sector earlier, Pierre Gusselin, and discussed with him some of the structural and sector-focused reforms that can and should take place on the continent in order for us to rethink our economic business model. And take a look.
In domestic demand in Africa, we've had this sustained growth for 10, 15 years. We've seen middle class grow in most countries. We've seen urbanization grow. That creates a ready market. That's a huge opportunity. So my sense is that we have a significant opportunity to develop production for this market. And I'm not talking about anything like import substitution. It's more so growth opportunities. These are new markets. It's new markets that can be better served by African firms because they know the taste of the local population better, because they're closer to the market, closer to the client. So that segment is one that we should develop. But one of the critical issues here to really be able to tap into this opportunity is to open up market.
Do you think we should look to Africa's governments for all the answers, or is the onus on the private sector as well?
Of Africa is in the private sector. That is without any doubt. There's just no doubt about that. And finding ways to get the private sector to be a bit more vocal, not about defending their immediate interests, but really in creating these new opportunities is going to be critical. In influencing these leaders, in also being able to support pro-competitive environments. So my sense is not one or the other. The only way we're going to break through is by probably a more vocal private sector, more vocal stakeholders in general, more vocal stakeholders that demand from their leaders that they do the needed to put their countries back on track for growth and inclusion.
Now, as you heard there, a lot of focus on good governance here. But another topic that did come up is financial technology going forward, fintech. That has been a big discussion taking place here. As you know, technology is going to play a bigger role in growth going forward. So we'll certainly be following the discussion. Back to you, Lindy.
Thank you so much, Uche, for that update. We'll, of course, be keeping in touch with our team there on the ground for the latest updates from that Africa CEO Forum.